Oh, and we're live. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So we are missing Kay Linde. Hopefully she'll be able to jump in when she can, but if not, I'm still excited to have Carly and Cynthia here with me, chatting about all things romance on this leap day. So to start off, I'll get you both to kind of introduce yourselves and just talk a little bit about what you write and a little bit about what you've done so far in your publishing career, because I know you guys have both been publishing for a long time. And I guess I'll kind of start by introducing myself. So I'm Laura. I'm Kobo Writing Life's author engagement manager, and I'm really excited to be here with these ladies chatting all things romance. Carly, do you want to start me off with introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Carly Phillips. I have been around forever. No, I started my first published in 1999, but I write billionaire romance, family-oriented, family saga. So you get one, they're all standalone, but you go from one brother to a sister to an adopted brother and we just run the gamut of that kind of stuff. And that's really where I found my current niche, but I've sort of been everywhere over the years.
That's great. Cynthia, what about you?
Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here today. I have been writing since 2005, writing full-time since then. And it seems like a really long time when you think back to the year where you first made the transition. Like, wow, that's been a minute. I primarily write romantic suspense with very protective heroes and strong heroines. A lot of times I would characterize my books as like military romance because the heroes often have a military background. Bodyguards. I also do small towns. I'm currently doing an icebreaker cold case romance series. So the romantic suspense subgenre is just really where my heart is. But I also write paranormal romances too. The paranormal romances were actually how my career first got started when I sold
That's how
those.
I know you.
Yeah. I love those. I love writing both. And I when I talk with writers, it sounds like a lot of us sort of it's a mental break to be able to go back and forth between the two. And a lot of times we need that to sort of, jumpstart our creative juices and get them flowing. So I feel really fortunate that I've been able to write in both of those areas.
Let's talk about marketing a little bit to start. So I know sometimes with steamier romance, it can be a bit harder. There's some unique challenges in terms of Facebook ads.
Right.
So Carly, can you talk to me a little bit about how you market your books, specifically the steamier ones?
So all my books are the steamier ones.
Yeah.
So I have learned over the years that the cover makes a difference in how you can advertise, both on Facebook and on Amazon. I don't do as much Katie, I don't know what it's called, Amazon ads. I do some, but I don't do a lot. Most are on Facebook. And now, since the Kingstons, pretty much, I've started doing my heroes in at least a button-down shirt because I want to have the billionaire thing front and center. But I do couples, and honestly, it's like, okay, the shirt has to come like this and no male nipple, or then, Facebook, it might like throw you back to no. I've actually done things where we've had the designer cover certain things because sometimes it's where a hand is placed that they don't like. It's really, really different. You don't know what's going to happen. But what's been lucky for me is that I've been able to grow that series with these guys with their shirts on or with their suits or their power suits or whatever with their heroines. So that's what's working for me right now.
Cynthia, what about you?
Well, I'm going to first agree with everything that Carly just said. because she was absolutely right. Facebook in particular is the one that I have to watch with my ads. I have gotten pinged before and had ads rejected if my couples are kissing on the cover of a book, even if they're fully dressed, but it looks like they're kissing. They've rejected my ads for being too sexual.
We've rejected I've had shoulders, female
Shoulders.
shoulders rejected.
Wow. Okay, you guys are blowing my mind. I had no
Yes.
idea it was so strict that it was
It
even shoulders.
And I mean, sometimes you can slip through, sometimes those ads will get through, but a lot of times, the strangest things will reject them. And definitely like, I know a lot of book covers will have the guy with his shirt off, and I can't get any ads with a shirtless man on Facebook. It just doesn't happen for me. So what I've done, I've sort of shifted my covers. A lot of times I've just shifted, to like the icebreaker books, where they're, both in sort of like elegant evening wear. So that gets through fine.
Me
But
too.
if I do have a more risque cover and I know it's not going to get through on Amazon, one of my tricks is I just get a stock image that I think represents the hero or heroine well. It doesn't have to match to my cover because I won't put that on for the ad itself. I'll put a stock image that's representative of the couple or the hero, heroine, like I said. And then I focus really more on the advertising text itself to let people know, this is the book. And then when they click it and then go, they see the actual cover on whatever landing page I have them going to. But by using a different stock image, that's the way that I've been able to get around the Facebook rules.
I just want to, you jogged my memory on something. Like I said, I don't do a lot of Amazon ads, but, and nobody heard this from me. If you put up a placeholder cover and you run the ad, and then you switch your cover over to your actual cover, 99% of the time you don't have a problem. So you can start earlier with the ad. Don't shut it because then they have to approve it again.
Now, so. I will say one of the places that I love advertising is on BookBub for the BookBub ads. And they don't ping you. They know you're targeting your readers and you can do any sort of ad format there that you want. So I have a segment of readers that really like the steamier covers, because the cover shows them what they're going to get. And so when I do my BookBub ads, I can always use, my exact cover image and everything works great there for them. So I really like that. BookBub, you don't have to worry about that. And it lets you, target your specific retailers like Kobo, so you can really fine tune and get down to the nitty gritty when you're doing your ads.
Thank you both. Those are some good tips. And let's talk about newsletters a little bit. So Cynthia, how do you use your newsletter to reach your readers?
Oh, I like to give my newsletter subscribers, I feel like if somebody has made the effort to actually sign up for my newsletter, then they need to get value back from me. I don't want it to just be like me spamming them like, ta-da, release. I want to build and have actual engagement with them. So I tried to give my newsletter subscribers perks that I don't post on Facebook or Instagram. It's a more elite group there, so you get more things. My newsletter members are the ones who always get to read the prologue first or the chapter first. Anytime I have material like that, they'll see it days before other people see it. And I like to do special promotions for them. I like to give special free books. Sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? Thank you for being here. Here's a book that's not free anywhere else. I'll send it to them via BookFunnel. I want them to understand that I value them. And so I try to put things in there that I think they can use and enjoy. I will also use my newsletter for authors who, there are a lot of writers who write in a similar vein, like Katie Reyes and I. We're really good friends. We both write romantic suspenses that are very similar in tone. I can tell my readers, you're going to get strong hero, happy ending, lots of danger with her books. And she can tell her readers the same thing about me. And so occasionally I'll offer my readers one of Katie's books for free, and she'll offer my readers that, bringing them new authors, I think is also really important. You just want to keep building relationships. I'm sure Carly's going to have a lot to add too, because she's got a fantastic newsletter. I subscribe to her newsletter.
Thank you, because I was just going to say the first thing I wanted to tell everybody was to definitely get Cynthia's newsletter, because she's going to give you a lot more premium content, I think, than you're going to get from me. No,
you have great content, and yours is very
you.
personal, which I love. I get a feel for who you are. In your
you know what? Thank you, because I had no idea whether it was working, but the truth is, so we used to do every other week, and I just decided that because I do pre-orders, it's really important to me to build my pre-order numbers at all the different retailers. And if I can give them something weekly that's different each week, then I can work on that. I mean, that's really my goal. So that's my personal goal. But every week I open up with a dog, I tell them like a sentence of what's going on in my life. And then I tell them about something with one of the dogs. I have two, I had three. But I have 2 dogs and a grand dog. And then I give them a picture below, a different picture every week of something with the dogs. So they get that. And then I give them a different graphic or an excerpt or something like that, different every week. And then once a month, we do Freebie Friday. And for the last 2 years, I've been with different groups each, or groups of authors, so like 3, and they get all 3 new freebies on once a month on Friday. Sometimes I'll have something like an anthology or something extra in there, and I save everything for that one newsletter. I'm trying to think. I don't do that many shares, because I don't think that there are a lot of, I think that people write very differently, at least in my experience, because I read a lot. Like I read at night, so I read a lot. And people will reach out to me that have like BDSM, in their genre, and like I might read it, but I don't write it. And I know that a lot of my readers are older because they've been with me since, the early days. And I know that I don't know that they read that. And so sometimes I have to say no to people because I want my readers to know they're getting what they subscribe to read. So, but I love doing the similar author freebies, because I think those are, and it's funny, a lot of people do it to build their subscriber list. And I don't do it for that reason, because I feel like I'm doing it to give them something, because I don't give them what Cynthia gives them, which is the extra content that I don't have, and I don't have time to write.
And I will say, I know authors, and I don't do this, but I would like to, who will even make special epilogues just for their newsletter subscribers and things.
Well, they do that also that's a build, right?
Yeah, well, So I was going to say, and I think that's great. I would like to do that.
Yeah, me too. But no.
It's a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that actually, because you're seeing a lot of authors now using things like Patreon to offer extra content, but that is a lot of added time and effort on your end. So is that something you both have considered, or?
Well, I mean, like, I know for me that I've had to I used to say never. Oh, I'm never going to, and I always say never. But on those, I was like, it's too much. It's too much. And so I don't do Patreon, and I don't do those things, but I did open my store this year, and they can get like my stamp name there if they want that, inside the book or inside the, because I don't ship myself, it ships through somewhere else. But that's where my attention has been going. I don't know that I could handle, what's the other thing that everybody's doing where like they have levels and tiers and people buy.
Yeah, Patreon or maybe Kickstarter.
Yes. And as of right now, anyway, it feels so overwhelming to me.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm only working on the store right now.
I feel like the industry is always changing with all of these new things. And so, like Carly, I used to think, no, I'm not going to do that. And quite honestly, it was because it's a time issue. There's just so much time that you have. And so I'm not going to say I would never do
Right.
Patreon now, because, you know, it's something that I would like to learn about and explore to see what develops. Because, I mean, when the whole ebook revolution started, a lot of people were like, oh, I would never do that. Personally, yeah, right? I was like, Marie Force was the one who first told me about it. She was like, no, you need to give this a try.
Bella
And,
Andre
right?
said to me, I was in an RWA and Bella said to me, I said, I got this new contract and it went down again. And I really don't want to take it and I don't know what to do. And she's like, do your math. That's what you want to do. You want to go indie and do the math. And best thing I ever did. That was 2013. Yeah.
So I think it's always wise to keep, you know, an open mind to all of these new things. But I think for me personally, right now, I just don't have the time to devote to it. You know, I'll keep learning and see what develops with Patreon and Kickstarter and the different things. But right now, with my publishing schedule, I'm trying to deliver 6 to 7 books each year. And so it's just like right now, all my focus is on writing. And I had a friend who was like, you should do, because there's writing, and then because Carly mentioned this earlier, like there's writing, but then there's all of the other stuff that comes with writing, you know, all the social media, the marketing and everything. So for me right now, I'm just focusing on the writing and the social media efforts that I enjoy, doing the things that I enjoy, so that and I just think writers should find your focus and sort of stick with that.
The other, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, what I was going to say is that I enjoy certain elements of the marketing. I enjoy social media. I enjoy Facebook. I enjoy Instagram. But I've learned that I also, like Cynthia said, our time is so limited. And like, as soon as you add one more thing, you've added like 3 more hours to your day that realistically you don't have. So and this is my recommendation for any author, like who's growing, once you can afford to hire out and find people you trust, like my social media sort of, I'll write up a list on, you know, the beginning of middle of this month for next month, you know, which national days do I want to hit? Whose birthday is it in my family that I want to talk about? I give it all to somebody, they put it together. I go through it, approve it, change the text, and it gets scheduled. If I had to when I was doing that, and I was up about a year ago, I started to like feel like I was drowning. And I had to give it away.
We did get a couple questions about BookBub for you, Cynthia. So I'm just going to pop one up here. So Cat Whisker Studio, which is a name that I love, trying to see the screen around my cat, found it interesting that Cynthia mentioned BookBub ads. My experience, and from what I've heard, is that they really only work for discounts and freebies. And then they continued to say, do you advertise full price on BookBub as well?
Yes, I do advertise full price on BookBub. I'm actually doing that right now. I tend to advertise the full price books on BookBub when it's a new release. I will do that 2 weeks before the release and 2 weeks after the release. And the prices, like, I'm not somebody that spends a ton of money. Like, I know people who can spend a lot of money on ads, and I don't do that. I will do, when I have a release on a BookBub ad, I'm talking, you know, $10 or $15, you know, to see what's happening. And I monitor it very carefully to hone in to see what I'm doing and what's working. And if an ad is not working, I stop it.
I'm taking notes.
Well, you can, now, again, everyone's mileage will certainly vary, but this is just what works for me. So when I have a new release, full price on BookBub, I do advertise it. And I will advertise, and there are certain things that I like to use, like in the ad, I like to let people know it's a new release, because, you know, to me, that's one of the attention grabbers. People are looking for that. And I will say, I also do advertise free books and discounted books in the BookBub ads. So I do them all. And in terms of have I found one works better than the other, for me, honestly, my new releases work better in the ads, but I also do the BookBub featured deals, and I know Carly does those too. those are very effective for me if I'm doing say a featured romantic suspense deal on a 99-cent book, or at the featured deal on the free book. I don't run as many ads on BookBub for those because I sort of count on the featured deal to do all the work for me. Like, it goes out and it's getting everybody who's followed me, it's getting everybody who's interested in romantic suspense already. So I don't spend as much time on the free books or on the 99-cent books ads when I already have a featured deal. To me, it's just like duplicating my efforts.
I wonder if some of what you're experiencing is because you're in a more niche genre and you can drill down and target your people, because my experience, like 2016, 2017, anything I ran on BookBub made me so much money. And what I experience now is if I've run it before, it's not worth doing it again. So what I've been doing is saving, like last year I had 2 reissues of 2 series that were like long series. I'll do this year or next year, like book 1 in those series, and those will do well because people have never been open to it before. But the contemporary romance genre is so large in and of itself, and we pay so much more for, instead of like romantic suspense or erotic or new adult. So making it back and making profit is a lot harder. And I know the other thing I wanted to talk about, just because we're talking about BookBub, is whether people should pay for the pre-order alert. Like, they will send it out on an alert out on the day that your book comes out. Everybody gets that unless it's a reissue. But I used to do the pre-order alerts because back in the day anyway, I wanted my rank to drop on Amazon. I mean, that was like a bigger deal to me. I really don't even look at my rank anymore. But I feel that it's not, I just did it for my last book and it was not worth. I've been there for so long. My organic is what is it called? Friends or likes or whatever is so high. I have to pay so much money, and I'm only getting about 100. If I get 100 people to buy, pre-order the book off of that day, I haven't earned back my money, even on 100. So, but I think maybe for people who are newer, it might be a much better thing to do.
Well, I will say I have only done the contemporary romance category a couple of times on a featured deal because my books don't tend to qualify for that. There's
Right.
too many serial killers, too many serial killers. They just won't let me in there. So the romantic suspense category, and I do think it's all about like drilling down because it's not as expensive. Like as you said, because I think the last time, and please correct me, I feel like the last time I did it, it was almost like $900 for the contemporary romance category. But the romantic suspense, I think, is around $600. And I'm sorry, I don't have exact figures. That's sort of what I'm just remembering. So just the featured deal, like it's a significant price drop on running the ad. So you don't have as many people who follow the romantic suspense category. So you won't have as big of sales, but I've found it very effective for me. Now, in terms of the pre-order alert, they also have that thing on there where they encourage authors to do 2 pre-order alerts. I was going to say, I don't do that.
I've got it.
Yeah. Have you? I didn't have good results from the second.
Nope, me neither. And I don't think anybody will. New author, older author. I think that's, I hate to say it, a money grab. I can't. Especially since they're going to send an alert for you on the day of release anyway.
Now, I do their pre-order alerts about a month before the actual release, and I found that to be effective for me because I try to match up the timing for when I'm telling my newsletter subscribers first about the book. I like to tell them about 2 months before it's coming out. I tell my newsletter subscribers 2 months, and then I do the BookBub pre-order a month before. And then after that, usually you have retailers like Amazon will send one out 2 weeks before your book comes to let people know. And like Kobo, they'll send notes telling people, this is books coming soon. Like everybody has something. And so I just try to create a calendar so that I can see when each individual thing is going out, so that I can determine where my sales are coming from. And if like I can see what's working and what's not that way. I also like with the ads, so I can make sure that they're running. Like I don't like to have I'll like to have BookBub ads running and only BookBub. Like I'll pick a title from my backlist and I'll run an ad on that on BookBub, and then I'll run a different ad on Facebook, and then I'll run a different ad on Instagram, just trying to see what's giving me the most traction. Because I've found, and when you were talking about your readers tend to be on the older side, mine do too. Because I think, romance readers are so incredibly loyal. They will stay with you for years. And so as we've aged, they've aged too. We're all aging, which, is like, hey, what are we doing? What? Slow down, hon. So I found a lot of my older readers still are on Facebook. They really enjoy Facebook. But I'm reaching newer readers like on Instagram. Like it's just like finding like who they are, where they are. Please.
Do you engage with them on Instagram? Like it's easier for me to engage on Facebook.
So I try to do both. I don't get as many comments on Instagram as I do on Facebook. I feel like people on Insta just like to hit the like button or the love button. I get more likes and things that way, but I get more comments on Facebook. Now, I am not on TikTok heavy. I know a lot of authors are, and they say a lot of great things about it. And I know it's supposed to really move books, but I just can't speak for that because I haven't done that.
I think we could both speak too for the Kobo promotions. And I think that everybody should be submitting those. And I'm not just trying to do this because you're here, because I've heard people say, I've submitted, I'm not picked. And then all of a sudden they'll be picked and they'll see a very big jump on their Kobo books. And so I think, you need to spend time when those emails come out and tell you, or check every month and do those things too.
Well, what I really like about that with Kobo is the whole interface. I find it very, very user friendly on selecting the promotions. Like other retailers are not that user friendly. So it's really good the way Kobo has everything set up.
And Kobo gives you, and again, I know it's just going to sound like I'm like trying to
I did not pay them to say this.
I know we've known each other a while, so like I do it anyway. But the thing with Kobo is that it's there for you. Like Amazon doesn't give you anything, and when they offer you something, it's usually your newest books that you're not ready to put on pre-order. Barnes and Noble does like pick and choose or whatnot. Apple, I've spent a long time building a good relationship with, and I get things there, but it's not easy. But Kobo, it's accessible, and so it's good.
It is very accessible. And one of the features that I'm really enjoying is the ability to submit specific titles for promotion in Kobo Plus, because I think Kobo Plus is really beneficial. I'm hearing from a lot of readers who like enjoy it. You don't have to have your books exclusively there. So it's nice to be able to use promotions at Kobo Plus,
And Laramie Briscoe, if anybody's an author who has books wide, Laramie does these. Is it quarterly?
Yeah, I think so, because it's a Facebook group, right? Am I thinking of the right one?
Her Facebook group, but it's for Kobo Plus. And so, that's also a way to get in and see that Kobo Plus can work.
Yeah, and those YOLO with Kobo promos, it's great. It's great to see like all the authors working together and how powerful that is as well. Just the power of the indie community for sure. Let's switch gears here and talk about craft for a little bit. Carly, how do you create your characters, especially when writing a series, to be compelling and kind of draw readers in?
So I've gotten to the point where I do have a process that works for me. It involves a couple of authors who I've been friends with since my Harlequin days. We get together like 2 or 3 times a year, and we sort of now I'm not using it for like the whole book. I'm doing like an overall series overview, and so they'll help me craft this series of compelling siblings. And so, because for me, it's all about the family, but my family dynamic and my conflict tends to come from whatever happened in their past that shaped them. I mean, sure, there's also the marriage or the broken marriage or all that stuff, but I always have this one big dramatic thing that's happened to all the siblings in the past, and then I sort of draw from how it's affected each of them. So like with the Kingstons, the father had, well, let me go back to the Dares because it's just easier in my head. There was a family, there were 5 people, family of 5, and all of a sudden they found out that the father had a second family because their daughter, this is what off the page, had leukemia and needed a donor. And so all of a sudden this whole 2 families and all the drama and, the horrible father. And so that impacted the half siblings, all of them each differently. And so that's what I tend to do to craft like down here. And then I build each one out with tropes and plots and how the hero and heroine mesh together. I think that's a big mushy way to explain my process.
No, that was great. Thank you. Cynthia, what about you?
Oh, so much process. So when I start a series, a series always begins with like just one idea. And sometimes I don't even know I'm writing a series with the first book. When I did my Wild Ways series, I started with Protecting Piper, and I actually just thought it was going to be a one and done book because I do like to write standalones. Sometimes readers will see a whole long series and they might feel intimidated if it's like book 13, even if they are all books that can be read individually with their own HEAs. So I like to do some standalones, and I originally wrote that as a standalone, but the response from readers was so great that I was like, no, I want to keep going into this world. And so I started with these characters, and then the world grew from them, from the people who were around them, from the agency, the bodyguard, the protection business that the hero owned. And so we just I sort of picture it like a spider web. And my initial characters are right in the middle. And then as I go into the series, I just branch out into the web, and more people come in with each story. And so it just starts small, but then it just keeps growing and building. And then sometimes, and I know Carly's got some spinoff series and things like that, like you'll decide, you know what, I want to take this couple and I want to start something new, because they can branch that way. Yeah. So I think that's interesting, because when you do a series branch off, you can bring the readers who already loved the previous series, but you can also attract readers because they're not seeing that it's like number 15 right. or 16 in a series, it's number 1. So that's the way I think you can keep both sets of readers happy, by doing something like that.
And yet, can I just ask you, because I don't know about you, I find that book 1 always is a lower build to back up where you were.
So I, as I've said so often in this talk, I agree with Carly. Sometimes the book is a tester for me. Like, you write it as a standalone, and then if the sales numbers are really good, then like with Protecting Piper, it becomes a series.
Oh, I don't do that.
See, I'm a big tester. I'm like, I want to know how people are going to respond to this. So I don't go into anything going, okay, I'm already going to have 4 or 5 books like already plotted out. I go in as a tester, and I'm like, here is this. Ta-da! I loved writing this. And if readers enjoy it and they enjoy the characters, then my spider web will emerge, and then I'll go deeper.
Interesting.
So that's my way of saving my first one. Yeah.
Cynthia, I'm seeing a trend with your testing here.
I think I experiment far too much, but it's the way I learn.
But it's working for you. So
from here, we could actually go in and go, well, what are your strengths? But we're not going to do that. But I get it. I get it.
Well, I'm just all about sort of like evolving and adapting as things change.
Sure.
And that's really one of the things that I like about indie publishing is that you can evolve and adapt so very, very quickly. When I was publishing with New York, everything was always like 2 years out.
It's like steering the Titanic,
Yes,
you know?
like this would be what's on trend right now, and you've written it, but it's going to be 2 years before it's on bookstore shelves. So by the time it comes out, everything has shifted. All marketing strategies have shifted. Nobody likes that trope anymore. So it's really important to me that you can shift gears so quickly.
But that's why I think we've been around for as long as we have. We've learned how to do that.
Let me shift gear. I'm going to reverse. Run backwards for a little while, see what happens.
We talked about series a little bit, so let's continue talking about that. Carly, I know you have a bunch of different series going on, so I'll go to you for this one first. How do you possibly keep track of all your books? Do you have kind of like a series Bible going on? Do you lose track of everything?
Oh my God. Okay, first of all, I have a Bible for each series that somebody does. I'm embarrassed to say I never check the Bible because when I'm writing something, I'm into what I'm writing. I mean, and I have been known to change eye color within a story or whatever, and it all gets straightened out with, because the person who does the Bible is one of my editors. So, I mean, it does all get straightened out, but if I'm lucky. The thing is, though, I didn't sit down I didn't sit down and plan to have Dare to Love and the New York Dares and then go, I'm going to add this branch and I'm going to add this branch. And so it happened, and it's not well put together. And I was just in my Facebook group begging if anybody had a list of the kids and all of the information, because no matter how many Bibles I have, whatever I happen to need isn't what's listed in the Bibles. I don't know. I do the best I can. And as a matter of fact, I'm putting a book out. The one after I have a book out in like 10 days. The next book is bringing a character up that I forgot about and dropped midway through Dare to Love. And I get letters about her all the time. And I am putting a note in the beginning, and I'm going to say two things. I'm going to say, number one, thank you for everybody who wanted her. For those of you who don't know who she is, oops. And number two, I'm going to say that this is my world and my time frame. Please don't tell me such and such. I won't say it this way, but such and such kid needs to be this old, and it doesn't work because they're that old, because my readers are so much better at timelines than I am. And this is just going to be, I'm going to write it the way I envision it, because I feel like everybody's the same age, even if I wrote them 5 years before or 5 years later.
Cynthia,
well, I don't have a Bible. I have like a really, really old school notebook. And so every time, and I know I should be more organized about that, but every time I write a book before I publish it, the last thing I do is read it one more time, and then I make character notes to myself about like all the
better.
I don't know.
I think that I do. Much better, smarter.
And then I put little sticky notes on here so I can go back and thumb through and just find my characters really quickly, because that way, I can try to keep track of the eye color and the relationships. I know the bigger a story gets, like the more books you have in the series, like it is so hard if you were on book, say 15, and you're trying to remember book 1. So it gets really tricky. And I know there are people out there who sell their services too, and they make Bibles for you.
I do.
So there are lots of ways to do it. And I think my notebook is probably the worst way to do it.
I don't, because I really believe you know where you wrote things. You know what you saw. I don't take the time, and that's why I have a problem. Because I don't do it myself.
I think, and to me, there's something like really old school about like writing it down in the notebook as I do it. It sticks in my mind a little bit better and sort of tunes me in. And then it's just right there when I'm flipping through, like, oh, let me see what that person looked like. 6'5", brown eyes. Gotcha.
I'm going back to a 2013 series and adding a sister. This is very difficult.
That is a big walk back. So, but I know your readers are going to be really excited
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
How do you both market a series? Because I know it can be hard to kind of keep readers interested on like book 19, but also try and bring in new readers to book 1 at the same time. So what are your strategies for that?
Well, please go first, Cynthia.
Well, I suspect I'll say things that Carly is probably thinking as well. For me, I am a fan of first free in a series. I think that is, I'm all about the lost leader that brings people in, especially if your series is longer. Now, if you've only got 2 books out, I do not say do first free in a series.
I wouldn't do it with less than 6. I won't do it with my 4s.
I just think it's really good. It is a way for somebody to try your work without losing anything. They can just, and readers, please go ahead.
Just I was going to say, the other way you can do that is I give, when they sign up for my newsletter, and I forgot to say this, that's why I'm like, they get 2 free books. And so they get like Dare to Love, which is like where it all begins, I like to say. And then just a book that's its own standalone series that is my favorite. But doing that is another lost leader way of doing it.
And I was going to say, I do the same thing. So, and that probably should have been something that we mentioned at the newsletter talk. I'm sorry, Laura.
Same. I'm sorry, too.
You said it. But yeah, anytime, like for each new subscriber, like the first thing they get is a note from me saying, thank you so much for signing up. Here's a free book. And the free book that they get is the first one in a series, because you're trying to like introduce them to your work. And if they like that one, hopefully they'll like the other books in a series. And for me, I like the first free in a series. But what I've done, if the series gets really big, and this just goes back to me and my love of BookBub. I'm sorry, I have mad love for BookBub. It's worked great for me. When I have a really big series, I'll tend to make that first one free, but later I'll make the second one 99 cents, or the third one, like third one 99 cents, especially if I've got a new release coming up. Because the way a lot of retailers work, if somebody goes in and say, I've got book 3 on 99 cents, and these people buy book 3 because they saw it on a BookBub, then when my new book comes out, they're now in the retailer system as having liked and purchased my books. So they're more likely to receive correspondence, or just when they go to the Kobo screen or the Barnes & Noble screen or the Amazon screen, they're more likely to see information about me and my book because of their past purchase history. So I just always like to bring that in. And honestly, like the Wild series, the Wild Ways one is one of my longest series. And because it is so big, I will pick a book in the middle to offer it as a free read too. Because it's almost like, they're standalones. The thing that joins them together is the protection agency where they work. So you can pick up a book in the middle and not be lost. And I think that's important. But if it were the type of series where they didn't stand alone, I would not encourage a writer to probably put the middle book free, because you're just going to confuse people. But when it's one where they all stand alone, I mean, it's a strategy that works. So I try that.
Yeah. The other thing is that I had written, like I said, I had written this Dare to Love series, and I got bored. I mean, I'm here, I got bored, and I had one sibling or two, well, the forgotten sibling who I never thought I was going to write, and I had another sibling left, and I didn't write them. And so when I started writing this sexy series, let's say, for example, I was like, okay, I know the storyline I want, I know the drama that I want, it happened in college with these 4 guys, yada, but what if I make guy 1 that brother who I hadn't written yet? So I did that, and then those sold and the other books were selling. And then a bunch of years later, I said, I'm going to try making it, because the Kingstons were working long. So I said, let me take this sexy series and throw it into, like, let's say Dare to Love ended at 6 and make it 7, 8, 9 or something like that. Then once in a while, then I made that middle book free. So they got book 1, they read through the dares, they get to this new series that could be free, and they try from there, or it's something like that. That works too. Hi, Kyla.
Hi. My alarm's going off to tell me to make sure I come.
One thing I wanted to say real quick, I know it can be hard for people to get the BookBub featured deals, and I don't want people to think that we're saying something that's not possible. So if I'm trying to run a special and get attention for a free book, I also use Free Booksy and have had really good results from that. So just throwing that out there is something else that you could possibly use as a tool for authors. So Free Booksy on my first in a series have worked well too.
And Kobo has the first in series pages too, right?
Yes, we do have a first in series promotion as well on the free page if authors want to apply to that. And Terrence did link that in the comments on both videos. So you can take a look at the promotions on the Help Center as well and learn more about those. Kyla, I'm sorry that I think we maybe got a time mix up on
it must have happened. I thought it was 11:45. My time.
I think it might have been a time zone mix up. So that's no worries at all. I'm glad we get you even for a little bit. And actually one of the next questions actually works for your book. So I'll start with you for this one. So I know you switch between fantasy and romance. How do you balance kind of marketing those two genres? Do you find you have different audiences? Is there a lot of crossover? How does that work?
So when I started writing fantasy as well, I had already really established my romance audience, and everyone told me that there would be no crossover at all. And I think that's only partially right. And so when I started, there wasn't a whole lot of people who came with me, just like my mega readers who love me. But I do actually think there's a lot more crossover now with the rise in romantasy. And so I've put a lot more focus now compared to the last decade that I've been writing fantasy onto promoting the fantasy just this exact same way that I do my romance as well now. And there's some people in my audience, like especially on my newsletter when I'm promoting it, where people are like, I don't care about this. And I'm like, it's one newsletter. I send one every week. So I'm sorry, but like, I'm also going to be talking about this too. And when I first started writing both, everyone told me I needed a pen name, that you weren't going to be successful writing in both genres. You hear that all the time. And I said, no. I was like, I don't want to do that. It sounds like a lot of extra work. And actually it was Abby Glines who was like, they're coming to you for the same feeling. And as long as you deliver that same feeling, they're going to keep coming. And she was right. And I thank Abby Glines every single day for telling me, don't do it. And so I kind of do it the same now. Yeah.
Cynthia, how do you feel about that? Because you also have the same thing, you move between kind of like the different genres.
Well, I do have some readers who won't read paranormal romance. Like I have some who are like, no, I only want to read romantic suspense. I sort of picture it, as the big double circles, right? I've got people over here, and then I've got my sweet spot in the middle where those readers follow me. So I found it to be, I try to just incorporate certain elements that are the same. It's sort of like the feeling that you just described. Like whether I'm writing paranormal or I'm doing romantic suspense, you can still expect, like I'm going to give a hero who's very protective, who's very alpha, who goes to extremes. I'm going to have a smart, capable heroine. I'm going to have a lot of like twists are big in my story. Like every 100 pages, I like to do the big twist elements. So I think to me, it's just getting across to the readers that you can still expect the same overall elements of the story. But over here, you're just going to have, it's like another world. You're going to have witches, you're going to have wizards, you're going to have werewolves. And if that's not your cup of tea, that's okay. Because next month I have this and you can go right back over to it, So, and I really like the way you described that the feeling is going to be the same, because I think that's an excellent way of summing it up. There are certainly huge differences between romantic suspense and paranormal romance. But when you close the book, if you can feel the same way, then I think the readers are all happy. And to me, that's what matters.
That's your brand, right? Your brand isn't that you write paranormal, or your brand isn't that you write whatever. Your brand is the feeling that you give your readers to take away at the end of the day.
That's right.
By the way, and I don't do I stick with one thing, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
And they love you for it. I wish I could. I wish I could.
Yeah, I would, and I wish I could
One
branch out
lane.
because I read everything, but
Yeah.
So you've all been publishing for a fairly long time. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the industry and how the industry has changed. How do you guys feel the industry has changed since you started publishing to now? Because the landscape looks a lot different.
I feel like Carly absolutely needs to talk about this.
I mean,
would think
I
so.
feel like, I mean, I've traveled like this, you know. I mean, I remember the days where you only bought books in bookstores, and the only thing that was hot was paranormal. And I would go into the store and I couldn't get a contemporary romance to save my life. And that was frustrating. And the big authors who we loved wrote one book a year. And that was frustrating because we're readers and we want to devour books. So I think the thing that indie did is let us devour the books that we want as fast as we want.
Yeah.
And it makes us have to write faster. But other than that, it also lets for me, it was freeing. Like, I feel so much more free being an indie author and knowing my covers are my choice and my story is my choice and my everything is my choice. And you know, to the people that say, but I just want to be in a bookstore. And I respect that because I had that. So I'm not, and I've been in airports and I'm not making light of wanting that feeling. But if you can also know that there's so much more for you now as an author or as a reader than there ever was before.
Yeah.
You know?
So true. And I started in the indie like surge in 2012. So I only knew the indie. It's actually funny that you're saying all this because I have a traditional book that's going to be in airports in June. And it'll be my first one.
And it's exciting and it's amazing. And you're going to take pictures and it means something.
Yeah.
But
it's also
there
at
any
the same
frustration?
time that I don't need them. They need me.
Right.
It's kind of a nice feeling of like, I already have a platform. I already know how to market. I already have 50,000 people on my newsletter. I can already do promotions. I can like make my own arcs. I have all these things that I'm already capable of doing, but I don't have distribution the way they do. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to stop doing the things that have worked in indie for me and stop writing indie while also, you know, since Romantasy is taking off, like,
Yeah.
trying to fit into that, like, Hunger Games is here, man. Let's go. So
no, that's real. And actually, it's really cool to walk through an airport and see your book. And to this day, I could never figure out, is it good if there's a lot of books here or do I want them gone? Like, I was never able to fit in a bookstore.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm going to just echo what these lovely ladies have said. When I first started, if you didn't publish with New York, most people did not consider you to be published. Like, I think Alora's Cave was around back then, like it was just starting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when the ebook revolution came along, I was still publishing with New York, but I was always a fast writer. And as Carly said, it was like one book a year. That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted you to do. Two books a year was too much. They were like, you're going to cannibalize your sales.
That's why Harlequin works so well.
Yeah. You
can't back then.
Yes, you can't do it. But like, for me, if I'm not writing, I feel lost. So it's like, I have all this time, I have all these books. What am I waiting for? And I think now writers, it's just a matter of just having so many options that you can do what you want. And one of the moments I always hated, and I won't mention what cover it was, but my publisher gave me a cover when I was with New York, and they were like, ta-da, we love it. And I was like, her hair color's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he looks like a monkey.
She has black hair. That is a blonde on the cover, and she would never wear that dress. Like, this is a skin-tight dress. That's not what she does.
And they didn't care.
They don't care. They don't care. And so I feel like it's about control. You have so much control that you can take of your brand, of your books, of every detail. And I just find it very empowering. And I hope more people take advantage of the opportunities. And I'm not saying, I don't like for people to say there's only one way to go. Publish in New York if you want to, publish independently if you want to. Or what I see a lot of people doing, you control the ebooks and they'll do print. Certain people are getting print distribution. So you can sort of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's a really fantastic time to be a writer, because you can do so much and there is no one way. There's just all of these options that you have.
You know what I like now too?
What do you like?
You can, how do I explain this? Okay, the best thing that ever happened for me personally, it was No More USA Today bestseller list. I don't know how other people feel, but for indies, because for me, I stopped looking at where I sold, how I compared to others, what other people were doing. I don't care about my rank anymore because Amazon's so focused on KU that my rank doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I was so, at first I was upset, and then I was so free, and I felt so I can make. There are people out there making money that you've never heard of, and they are making a lot of money. And so if you can worry about, as they say, bank over rank or whatever it is, you can enjoy yourself in this business, as opposed to putting the pressure on yourself of what are other people doing and how do I have to compete? And,
comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, it is the thief of joy. Yeah. But the thing I don't like about the USA Today list being gone is that I feel like it took a focus off of indies because they were selling so well.
That's true.
And I just feel like indie authors should get the recognition that they deserve.
I agree.
The thing that I didn't like about it going away was, I know so many people who should be, like, I'll see the list and I'm like, why isn't this there? Why isn't this there? And so I don't like the feeling that it's trying to shut a door on the success of other people.
Yep.
And like, certainly maybe that's not the
good point.
But when I know people are doing so well, I would just like to see it, to celebrate it. And so I keep hoping that another list will come forward that is more reflective of the actual sales numbers.
I would like to see that with ebooks, because I feel like the lists we have now, because of so many print deals, that kicks us all out. Well, I don't know who's doing print deals, but for me, like, that no longer is something that's accessible to me.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I would love to see that, and it's just good to. And I think in terms of seeing
Nielsen would just publish the list.
Yes.
Nielsen, just do it. Book scan it for us.
Well, I like to really know, like, what is really selling well in terms of marketing. Like, what are people really enjoying? And sometimes I feel like I'm being told people are enjoying, like, A, but really I know C and D are selling like crazy.
Dark romance.
You're not showing it anywhere, right? Yeah, you're not showing it. And I know they're selling.
Yeah. I think so.
I don't know. I mean, it was all I cared about back in the day, but I don't, I have no access to it anymore. Still a thing. Yeah. Good for, publisher people.
So I also, while we're talking about the industry, wanted to get some advice from all of you for new authors, as someone who's coming into the industry now. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone starting out? I know it's a hard question.
It's a really hard question. I think because there's so much advice, and I think it's an overwhelming amount of advice. When I started, so I didn't tell my story because I showed up late. Sorry, guys. But Colleen Hoover basically emailed me and told me I needed to publish my book because a friend had read it online for free.
Look at this. We all had one indie person behind us who said, do it.
I had one person say, do it. And I did it. And I hit the top 100.
Force, Colleen.
And now I literally just saw I'm in like new author groups as well, because I give advice to new authors. And what someone was literally like, I just paid thousands of dollars for all of these classes and I don't feel like any of them helped me. What am I doing wrong? And I'm just like, you don't know where to get advice. I feel like it's like an overwhelming amount of advice. So I really feel like the important things to do is to follow the people who are doing well in the industry, like do some research on like where you want to be. Find maybe your one person who is doing what you want to do, and then get in a peer class of people in your cohort that you want to come up with, because we all had that. And I mean, oh, sorry, again. It may feel like you want to be with authors who have been doing this for 10 years, but you really need to help each other lift from the together. I mean, it pulls everyone up.
Well, I just kind of want to piggyback on something you just said. I actually think the piece of advice I would offer would be, don't spend thousands of dollars. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, especially like you turn on Facebook or Instagram, and there are all of these ads telling you, we can help you. We can make you a bestseller. Take this seminar, take this class, pay me this much money, and I can publish your book. Like, and I think it is really easy to get lost in all of that noise. But that's all it is. It's just noise. You do not need to be spending thousands of dollars when you are starting in this business to publish your book. If you are going the traditional route, you need to be focused on getting a good agent, somebody who is going to sell your work. You're not paying them, they're selling your work. And then when you guys have success, the agent will get a percentage of that. Like, that's like the reputable way. Like, make sure you're just not being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And if you're doing this the indie route, you will have some expenses like getting your cover, formatting. But just be very aware that there are people out there who are going to offer you like shiny prizes for a lot of money, and you should not do that. Like, just do your research very, very carefully on anything that you see like that, because I just hate for anyone to be taken advantage of. And I feel like there are a lot of predatory offers out there that you just see all the time. Write the book that you want to read and just do your research.
And I think, oh, were you done? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think I know people, I've seen it in groups where like, I don't have the money to pay for an editor. And I have to say, but you need to find, you can bargain with something. I don't know, but you need, because I know for me, my first book was unpublishable.
Yeah.
It
Same.
was passive voice. I joined an RWA group. I walked into a house. I didn't know anybody, and they taught me how to write. And I was thinking, how can all these people that are barely published teach me anything? Well, they taught me everything.
Yeah.
And so if it's not going to happen that way anymore, then you really, with a good critique partner or somebody that knows editing, you need somebody, because you only get one first look. And I think that's my big takeaway on what would I tell a new author. You only get one first look by a reader. If they open your book and it's full of errors, or it doesn't read well, or it's formatted badly, or the cover is, they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying you have to spend a fortune, but I'm saying you have to be smart about where you spend your money.
Yes.
Thank you all. I think that was all really great advice, and you've been giving great advice throughout this hour. So thank you all for joining me. And before we go, I'll just get you to say really quickly where listeners can find you online and what you're working on next. So KA, I'll start with you for that.
You can find me everywhere online, especially Facebook and Instagram. Also, my website is kalinde.com. I do the TikToks, but man, I mostly watch Taylor Swift. I'm going to be honest. Sorry.
We're all
And
there.
yeah, right. So right now, I'm working on edits for the Wren and the Holly Library, which is coming out with Red Tower in June. And I'm also working on a contemporary romance series. The first book is called Catch a King, and it's about an arranged marriage in an oil dynasty in Texas.
Nice.
Cynthia, what about you?
I'm at CynthiaEden.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Cynthia Eden Author. You can find me there. And like I said, I'm not on TikTok, but I will apparently go over there so I can watch some Taylor Swift videos, because
Yes.
I do enjoy that. And it has been so much fun chatting with you guys today. Thank you. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
You could find me at carlyphillips.com. I'm always on Facebook. I'm always on Instagram. I believe I have some TikToks, but I am not personally there.
Fair.
Fair. My next book is out in 2 weeks. It's Just One More Moment, which is a spinoff of the Kingstons. It's the Sterling family. So it's book 1.
Awesome.
And thank you too.
Well-
Thank you. This was amazing. It was fun.
Thank you all. And everyone listening, stay tuned to hear what our next live is coming up next. We'll be posting about it soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.